your forecast first. Sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on this Friday night. Hope you're all having a good evening out there. It has been really comfortable with temperatures and humidity levels down. Clear skies, lots of sunshine today. It's going to be another nice night as our temperatures are into the upper 60s now in Champaign. Still holding on to those 70s from Effingham to Springfield. Now tomorrow we're going to start to bring back the heat and humidity. So these nice cooler days, I should say, and nights are going to be a thing of the past as we really crank the heat into the weekend. We're thinking upper 80s here for tomorrow, but we're still dry. And we put together a few dry days before the rain returns. We'll talk about that and when that heat really cranks when we come back. WCIA3 News starts right now.
Now, from WCIA3 News.
Your vetting process is already based upon a hierarchy of being discriminatory already.
Protesters say one business's membership-only policy is racist, but the owner says that's not true. Instead of leaving bullet holes behind, one shooting left paint, but police say that's still a problem. A canceled mission trip wasn't going to stop this group, how they're helping their own community instead.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA3 News at 10.
We're out here because we want to make a change and make a difference. If you're not willing to make a change, then you need to leave just as well.
Protesters stood outside a barbershop in Champaign tonight in opposition to their membership-only policy that some claim is discriminatory. Good evening, I'm Jessica Coons. Rogue Barber Company's application requires clients not to be members of Black Lives Matter or white supremacist groups. The owner says he's doing it to protect his business against violence, but the people who came to this protest believe his stance is racist. WCIA3's Jennifer Jensen has more.
Rogue Barber Company closed early Friday afternoon before protesters lined up on the street outside of it.
Be respectful of everyone that's around you that's bettering your business. If we're a community and we're here for you, then be here for us as well.
The controversy started online, centering on the company's membership-only policy. While the owner would not provide a copy of the application, he says there's a clause in it that, in his words, requires people not to be a member of any extremist groups, including but not limited to Black Lives Matter, white supremacist groups, or Antifa. The protesters who support Black Lives Matter believe this is racist.
In your application process, you're stating organizations as extremists and terrorists and murderers and rapists. That's not appropriate. And your vetting process is already based upon a hierarchy of being discriminatory already.
He is devaluating the Black Lives Matter movement.
The owner, Michael Long, would not go on camera, but says he's read about people claiming to be members of Black Lives Matter and white supremacist groups involved in recent crime, murder, and also violence against police officers. He says he doesn't want to put his customers or employees in jeopardy of harm. He recognized that not all Black Lives Matter supporters are violent. He says he accepts customers of all races, but is denying service to anybody who is a member of Black Lives Matter or white supremacist groups as a precaution for his safety. He doesn't believe it's any more discriminatory than people protesting against collective police forces because one officer committed a violent crime. But the protesters strongly disagree with that stance.
So let's not do that. If we're going to actually state the facts, let's state the facts here. If there are people that are doing things that are wrong in these initiatives, they are removed. We are not Black Lives Matter as far as the organization, but we stand for Black lives because we are Black people that are out here making a difference for change.
Reporting, I'm Jennifer Jensen, WCIA3, your local news leader.
The protesters wanted to make it clear that they stand for peace and equality of all races. They say anybody who starts violence is not part of the true Black Lives Matter movement. A 14-year-old says he's facing racism after wanting to bring a rally fighting racial injustice to his town. Kobe Clark of Tolono says other students started creating social media accounts mocking him. He says he's faced this behavior before. These are some of the posts that have been directed toward Clark. His hope is that something can spark change.
I just hope there's nothing like that targeted towards technically anybody, but specifically people of color or minorities, like you said. I just don't want any hatred of that because of something that they can't control and something that's beautiful.
Village leaders in Tolono say they have not been contacted about a rally yet, and the group considering bringing it says there is nothing concrete just yet. Sangamon County put new rules in place on establishments, including bars and restaurants, after an increase in COVID cases there. These rules match state guidelines for capacity, but also create new ways for the county to punish businesses. It's a classic three-strike system. The first time a business violates the rules, it will result in a fine. Those fines get larger the second and third times, and a fourth will result in the business losing their license. New at 10, Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder spoke about how the city is planning to tackle a major budget shortfall because of the pandemic. Best case scenario is the city is $10 million short on revenue, but it could be as high as $16 million. The city is limiting the number of new hires to keep costs down, but that's still difficult.
Back through the years, we're at the lowest point of employment with the city, so it gets harder each time to cut additional positions out. But we're pretty much to the position where, there's a lot of individuals that need to continue the workflow. And so that's the balancing act you have.
The city has yet to get federal money from the CARES Act. The most the city can get is $4.8 million. A large gathering of people without masks plan to march in the capital city this weekend. The Million Unmasked March is tomorrow. Organizers are expecting people from all over the state. They will march from the Capitol to the State Board of Education in protest of their back-to-school guidance. The group believes they should have a say as to whether or not their children wear a mask to class.
And we fundamentally disagree with that directive. And secondary to that, we object to any future COVID-19 vaccination requirements for our children to return to school either this fall or the next.
The event starts at 10 a.m. Looking at the latest infection numbers, there are 1,500 new cases in the state, bringing the total to more than 168,000. 19 more people have died. In total, there have been more than 7,300 COVID deaths in Illinois. This month, the Champaign County State's Attorney says more teens were charged for having guns illegally. The Champaign Police Chief just addressed an increase in gun violence this year. Then the state's attorney released information about at least 4 teenagers arrested on gun-related charges. This is the kind of violence that groups like Hood Vision Neighborhood Transformation have been trying to prevent. They work with people, including teens, to invest in their lives and well-being and teach them that there's more to life than violence.
You have Youth Bill, you have the DREAM program, you have Boys to Men, you have all these different other organizations that work with young folks and help them to get into better situations where there's employment situations, there's trade situations, help them with a path of being successful.
We have information on the teen court cases on WCIA.com. Police are investigating after a paintball battle in Rantoul. They say people in several vehicles were shooting paintballs at each other in the Pheasant Ridge neighborhood. The same thing happened a few weeks ago, but in that case, only with one car shooting at people and houses. At least one person was hit, but they weren't hurt.
Paintballs can hurt people, and that's obviously what we want to try to prevent is somebody being hit, a house being hit, windows being broken, something like that. So that's what we want to try to prevent.
Police are still looking for the people who did this. A man from Rochester pleaded guilty to making a threat against Congressman Rodney Davis. Randall TARR admitted to calling Davis in November, leaving a voicemail and threatening to shoot him. That voicemail was sent to U.S. Capitol Police. Their caller ID helped authorities track him down. Sentencing is in November. Making a threat to a federal official carries a maximum penalty of up to 10 years in prison. We now know more about the recount for Macon County Sheriff. This comes from your local election headquarters. We told you the recount finished earlier this week. Tony Brown won over Jim Root by 1 vote in 2018. In the recount, Brown's lead increased. This recount gave him 17 more votes, but the race is not over. More than 1,000 votes are being contested, which means they will head to court. One group was supposed to be in a different state on a mission trip. How they made the best of it when that trip was canceled. Plus, some schools are going to be both in class and at home this fall, but this district is going completely virtual. And later, it was a change of heart for one future college football player as he flips commits in less than a day.